And my major is broad field science, and I'm double majoring with environmental science and conservation as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. Mackenzie, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I'm Mackenzie. I study abroad in Sevilla for the short-term faculty-led over winter round last year for agriculture entrepreneurship in southern Spain, and I'm an environmental science and conservation major.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Ryan?
So my name's Ryan. I studied abroad in Fiji at USP in the summer of, I don't even remember the year. It was the year that Abby went, but in the spring, not the summer. And I am an international business major, so business admin with an emphasis in international business.
Emily?
Hi, I'm Emily Urshan. I studied abroad 2 years ago in Seoul, South Korea for a full year. I am an international studies major.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. So please feel free, students, to unmute yourselves and ask questions live. You can put them in the chat. Otherwise, I do have some of the questions that were asked in Canvas, and I also created a list myself in case there weren't as many questions from students. Do we have any questions anybody would like to ask right away?
Are there any like requirements when going into study abroad?
As far as like what type of requirements, like to apply or academic or?
Yeah, because I've never really known too much about it. Just, like the very basic things about it, just going to study in a different country. So, I mean, that's really it.
Yeah, you can actually probably answer that more. There are different application requirements depending on the program. They can vary a little bit. A lot of programs have a GPA requirement or preference. If you have less than the GPA requirement, it's still good to talk with us because we can sometimes work with that. Most programs are like a 2.25, 2.5, and then a few are 2.75. I know that differs a little bit for short-term faculty-led. It kind of depends on the professor's preference, who's running the course, and some of them have prerequisites. As far as courses you need to take prior that you'd want to work with like your advisor to see if the courses you're taking abroad don't need any prereqs before you go. Yeah, each program's a little different that way. Any questions for the students? Otherwise, I can start in the Canvas questions.
What would be the best first step on not learning how to study abroad, but like to get to study abroad, I guess?
I think really looking at our programs, you can go to our website. I think there's links in Canvas, in your Canvas program, to look at our website and look at the different programs, the different program types, and then kind of seeing what works best for you, and then reaching out to us at the Study Abroad office, and we can help you kind of figure out maybe what works best for you. Yeah.
So students, how did you get started on your study abroad?
When I went abroad, I remember for my emphasis in international business, it's actually required to take a certain number of credits abroad. So coming into Platteville, I was thinking, okay, maybe I should study abroad. But then I saw that and I was like, okay, sweet. Like I have that opportunity. Now I kind of just kicked my butt and I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And then I started looking at the website. That's where I went first. And then I scheduled a meeting, which now we're doing those over Zoom, but scheduled a meeting with you guys. And then I met with my advisor, and then there's a little bit of paperwork to go through, and then you're headed abroad.
Yeah, mine was, I always knew I kind of wanted to go abroad because I've had friends that have done it, and it's no time, especially like when you're in college, to do it because it's a lot easier and you can get college credit for it. So my first step was I had no clue where I wanted to go, like at all. I was looking through the website. I was like, wow, this all looks really fun. So the first thing I did was look at that, had no clue what I wanted to do. And then I scheduled a meeting, obviously, with the office. And then one of them was able to kind of help me figure out what I was looking for. I really wanted to be an area where I could travel outside of that country as well and didn't see other stuff. So Europe kind of became one of the prime areas for me. And then I had learned a bit of Spanish in high school, and the idea of going to Spain was always neat to me. So I ended up just kind of YOLOing it and deciding to do that one, and I loved it. So mine was kind of just, yeah.
For me, I started off by going to the study abroad fairs and just looking at all the different brochures and like also the companies, like the third-party companies that were offered. Mine was kind of impulsive because originally I had planned to go to Scotland, and then someone was like, "Oh, you should go to Korea." I was like, "Bet." And then I went to Korea. So yeah, just go to the fairs, look at what your options are, what would work with your major, talk with your advisors like everyone else said.
I have
Yeah,
a
I'm
question.
not-
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I was going to ask, well, you go first and then I'll ask my question.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say the whole reason I looked at study abroad was because actually my professor, my first semester here, who I really liked, she was actually one of the ones leading the short-term study abroad. So then I would be like, she and one other professor were leading it. So she talked me into going on it.
Okay, I have a question, guys, to the panel. Do I have to take major related courses abroad? Courses that apply only to my major?
I did not. I ended up going my beginning of sophomore year when I just took a whole bunch of gen ed courses because I wasn't still sure on what I wanted my major to be. So it was really flexible, and I was able to get a lot of my gen ed requirements fulfilled while I was over there.
Yeah, I did the same as Abby. I was undecided my sophomore year, and one of my professors really pushed me to go my sophomore year because you don't need like your core credits then. You're still taking your gen ed, so I kind of got to take like really fun classes that you can only take in Korea, you know?
When I went abroad, I was still like getting into my major courses, but I took international finance, and as a business major, that was one of my required classes. So that came back to help me, and I got credits. And then while I was there, I also took a tourism class that came back as international studies credits, and I took an intro to Fijian language class, and that is helping me graduate as well. Like that came back as credits. So your advisors, like they're really good about, they're more worried about you coming back and getting your credits to count than the classes you take over there. So they'll for sure help you be lenient and work around what counts as what back here.
Okay, so I have a quick question. What would you guys recommend then for a transfer student who wants to study abroad?
It's basically the same process. My first thing for you would be to kind of figure out where you want to go. Depending on your major, I definitely reach out to your advisor right away too to see what requirements you still need to get fulfilled. And then kind of either talking with someone at the study abroad office or looking online to see what kind of classes are offered at that place. It's still really easy for you to do it. You just kind of have to work with both of them to see what you still need to graduate.
Yeah, when I studied abroad, I was actually still going to UW Whitewater. And then halfway through my study abroad year, I decided to transfer to Platteville. And it was just pretty much the same as transferring to any other school. It didn't like mess up my requirements or anything. So I think it should just be the same as anyone else.
I think there was a question in the chat too, but it was about COVID. Me or somebody who at the office right now probably could tell us better.
Yeah, so right now, we're still planning for a spring 2021 semester abroad. The official decision hasn't been made, but it's looking a little uncertain. But if it's still going, then and possibly in the summer, depending on what the situation is with COVID-19, there could be required quarantines when you arrive in the country. You may have to isolate for 2 weeks when you first get there. They may have different travel restrictions throughout the country or to other countries. So that's something to consider as well. But we're hoping that the situation gets better here in the next year or so and things can kind of go normal. But those are probably things that you want to consider if you're thinking in like the spring or summer that could still be affecting your plan. So anything, Nina or Nee, that you think you'd want to add?
Yeah, I think for us is that we're also considering adding virtual program options as well too. So that's something that we're hoping to, if you aren't able to physically go and travel abroad, to give you students options to be able to do it virtually. So that's something that we are heavily looking into, hoping that we can get that up and running.
Awesome. So I'll ask a question from Canvas. Do you have to speak a language other than English to study abroad, or did you guys know any of the language of your foreign country when you went there? How did that affect you and your experience?
Well, I am a French minor, so originally when I was looking at study abroad, if you do speak another foreign language, go ahead, check out the programs. If you want to be fully immersed in that culture, go for it. If you don't, there's absolutely no need to speak another language. Like my program that I picked was Fiji. They speak a little bit of Fijian, but the language totally around the island that you hear people talking to day day is completely English. All my classes were in English. Everything, I did take that class in Fijian, but I can say like my name is, I can count to 10, literally like basic stuff. And that's about it. That's all I knew. And I was still able to have 6 months of communicating with everybody that I came across.
I was gonna say going to Spain too. I had like 3 years in high school of Spanish, so I could do the basics, kind of like Ryan, where I could count. I could say my name is, where's the bathroom. And going in, they had recommended with the Spain one that you do know a little bit. When I did go, I didn't know much. However, my host family spoke only mainly Spanish, as well as they spoke a little bit of English. So it was super cool because I wasn't planning on really learning Spanish while I was there. But just being fully immersed in that culture, I was able to pick it up really, really quickly, which was something really unique to me. And that I can still say I can speak it pretty well. It was a little bit of a learning curve for a week or two, but Google Translate is my best friend. They spoke English. All my classes were in English. So you can have the choice to do everything in Spanish if you'd like to. They offer classes completely in Spanish. I took all mine in English, just given the circumstances, but you definitely don't need to.
Yeah, for me, I didn't speak any Korean before I went, but most Koreans speak English, and they actually have to take courses in English in order to graduate there. So there was a lot of options offered to us in English. And yeah, like Abby said, Google Translate, if like you're at the store and maybe the old lady who owns it doesn't know English, you know, you can always figure it out, like do your pointing and stuff, and you'll be fine.
Great, thank you guys so much. Does any students have any questions that they want to ask before I move on to another question in Canvas? Okay. What were some of the biggest challenges while studying abroad, and was there anything other than language barriers that was challenging to adjust to?
I'd say for me, the biggest challenge is meeting people. I'm not the biggest extrovert, but once I get to know people, I for sure am an extrovert. But knowing people, like getting to know them, I'm a bit of an introvert. But depending where you go, there probably will be another group of international students who are in exactly the same place that you are, who are coming to a country that they probably have never been to, and are looking for people to meet, and are in your exact same shoes. So we got along really well with our group of probably 50, 60 international students. We did like everything together. Or if you'd rather just go in and go head first into the culture that you're in, you for sure could find a friend group to get in. Just don't be shy. Get yourself out there. You'd be totally fine.
My biggest struggle when I first got abroad was definitely being homesick. It was something that I kind of had anticipated, but at first I was like, oh my gosh, I'm 3,000 miles away from my family. And it was hard. But then I kind of just realized that, yeah, it sucks that I'm that far away from them. However, I'm here on like a once in a lifetime experience. I had a great host family that included me in everything. I met a lot of locals that, how Ryan kind of said, that you just immerse yourself in the culture and you become friends with them. And then at this program I went on, there was a whole bunch of other students from the US that were exactly in the same place as I was and could relate to how I was feeling. And I realized that I was gone for 4 months, but at the end of the day, my family's still going to be there when I get back. So it all worked out at the end.
For me, probably the biggest thing was learning the public transportation system, because Seoul is huge and the public transportation system is insane. I'm from Hazel Green, so we do not have any public transportation whatsoever. The first time I ever rode the bus, I literally looked up a YouTube video on how to ride the bus in Seoul. So, but you kind of have to know that like you're gonna get lost sometimes, but I always looked at it as like, if I get lost, I can always find a subway station and get back home. Like, it's totally fine. So if you're going to a big city and you're scared about the public transit, just like be prepared to get lost and you'll find your way home.
Okay, next question would be, what was your biggest takeaway from studying abroad other than the courses that you took? And was there anything you learned or did that surprised you?
I would say the biggest thing that I will remember is definitely the people that I met. While I was there, like I said, I had a big group of like 50, 60 people. We made a lot of memories, and a lot of memories that for sure I will not have made in the US. It's just like things that'll stick with. It's cliche to say studying abroad will stick with you for a lifetime, but it truly does, and you don't see it until like after you get back.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just the memories that you have over there, it's nothing compared to like the chances that you would have over here. Like over there, there's just so many different opportunities and silly little things that you remember and learn to appreciate later on a lot more. Otherwise, just getting a whole perspective of a different culture and a whole different way of life, it kind of like opens your eyes to just seeing like the perspective in the US and going to all these other countries and seeing how they interact and their social cues and what's within their culture and what makes them. And it's truly, it sounds silly, but it's crazy to see like just how other people interact with each other. It's so beautiful, and it's crazy that you never stop learning, I guess, is a good way that I say it. Like there's always a different perspective out there and a different way that people are doing things that is so cool and different, and it was really unique to see.
Yeah, I agree with Abby about the culture, just seeing how other people live. And also, I think it really helps you become independent and a lot more confident, because you're like really forced to be when you're so far away from your family. You know, you kind of have to figure stuff out on your own and just, I don't know, become like really independent.
Yeah, and I would say similar to Abby, it's like, because I'm working on getting a Spanish minor, so it's like a whole different experience, like just reading about it in textbooks versus like actually being there and experiencing it. It's very different.
Thank you. Those are all great answers. Are there any students that have any questions they want to ask live? If not, I can ask others. Okay, I just want to make sure I check in. Another question is, what did you pack for study abroad that you never ended up using, or what are some things that maybe you didn't pack that you kind of wish you had?
I brought my Amazon Echo because I thought that I would use it while I was abroad, and I don't think I even plugged it in. So it kind of just took up some dead space in my suitcase. I didn't really use technology all that much when I was there. I mean, like your phones like measure your time. I was on it for like an hour a day, which is completely the opposite of what I am here at Flatville. So I'd say probably that. Something that I wish I had, I guess maybe not a disposable camera, but like a cheap $100 camera that you get from Best Buy. I went through a lot of pictures on my phone, and I know like sometimes those pictures on cameras like that will come out to be better. And I know for sure I would have used it a lot. That and also a speaker. I wish I would have brought a speaker. Bars in Fiji, I was 19 at the time, but the drinking age in Fiji was 18, and the bars would stop selling alcohol at, I believe it was 11. So people would go and they'd call for last call, and you buy like 9 or 10 drinks, and you just have that last you until however late you stay out. But the bars will stop playing music then too, but they let you stay there. So if you bring a speaker, it's just you can have a bunch of people crowd around a table, and yeah.
I brought way too many pairs of shoes. I don't know why I felt the need to prepare for everything. But especially in Spain, the culture, you walk everywhere. So the only shoes I really wore were my Birkenstocks, Chacos, and a pair of tennis shoes. And I brought all these other cute pairs, and it took up way too much space. And I don't know why I did it. One thing that I would definitely bring is probably a GoPro. I've seen a few videos of just being able to take it around if I go on a weekend trip with some friends. I just had my phone, which is great because I was able to take the pictures and they're all right there. But kind of going along with Ryan, it's not the same because all the quality might not be there, just different stuff like that. Otherwise, one other thing I personally wish I would have brought was some American candy because I was really craving Butterfingers for a while over there, and the food is very different wherever you go, and sometimes if you like something, you just got to bring it.
Yeah, so I was there for a year, so I had to pack for all 4 seasons in like one plane ride, so that was pretty difficult. I really, really wish that I had been able to fit my winter coat. Unfortunately, it did not fit in my suitcase, and I had to buy a pretty expensive coat over there, which kind of sucked. But like Abby said, I really wish I had brought some American snacks because, like, yeah, you want to eat the food there, but once in a while, you just want some Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah, I would say the best thing that I packed were earplugs for plane rides, and also I had a roommate who snored, which I did not know before the trip, but I had earplugs that worked out. I wish I would have packed more warm clothing because I was coming from Wisconsin winter, and I was like, oh, it's going to be so warm in Spain. And then it was like really cold at night because our house didn't have any heating. So I was like freezing. So I wish I would have packed like an extra sweatshirt. I did end up buying one there then.
Great, awesome. I really like all your guys' answers. I know in the chat, Jacob said he needs all 10 pair of his shoes. Which, I mean, if you really prioritize your shoes, I guess you can pack all 10 pairs. You just really have to balance out what you feel you will need and what you won't need. Also keeping in mind that you will probably buy some souvenirs, buy some things while you're over there. So making sure you have space for that. I know, like I studied abroad in my undergrad, and I know I threw away so many things that I was like, oh, I don't really like this that much anymore, and I needed more space for the stuff I had bought. So definitely keeping in mind what your priorities are in that. Next question is, what were the living accommodations like on your program? Did you live in campus or an apartment, etc.? Yeah.
So in Fiji, I stayed on campus. They had 2 dorms that were right across a yard from each other, and they were only for international students. So that really helped me like discover other international students that wanted to have fun and just mess around. And I'd say that my accommodations are really nice, probably a lot nicer than the dorms here in Platteville. I was in, it was like an 8-bedroom long suite, and then we all had a living room, a TV, a kitchen, and a bathroom with a lot of toilets and a lot of showers. So it was really nice, and it was really good to meet people as well.
So for in Spain, the university we went to is super small, so all the students stayed with host families. So you and another person who's studying abroad, like same situation as you, get basically assigned a family to live with. So when I went over, I lived with a mom and dad, and then they had two sons, and then me and another girl that actually came from Uriah Platteville as well, shared a room together. At first, I was kind of wary about the host family idea because I was like, oh, I wish I was rather on my own or with a whole bunch of other students where I can just kind of do my own thing. But they definitely gave me the freedom I needed if I wanted it, helped with a lot of stuff, but they always cooked me food and they were really good at making food, which is really nice. And it was really cool just to kind of be able to like build a relationship with them. They definitely helped with my overall experience over there. I love them to death. I still talk to them probably every few months. They always called us the Chicas de Wisconsin. So they didn't really, they always make fun of us there because they're like, why don't you speak Spanish this like very well? And it was just a really cool experience to like really be immersed because we got to try the food every day. We helped them clean. They would take us to meet their family. It was just a whole nother level that I wasn't really expecting and that I'm very, very grateful for.
For me, I lived in an off-campus dorm. My school had on-campus dorms where you lived with like 4 people in one room. We had an off-campus dorm where you lived with one other roommate, and then we had another one like a whole different part of the city. Was like a one-person apartment thing. When I found out I was in the off-campus dorm, I was so mad and like freaking out. But in the end, I was like really, really happy that I got put in the off-campus dorm because our campus didn't have a subway station anywhere near it. So those kids would have to ride the bus to get to the subway station. And for me, the subway station was like right outside of my building. And our dorms were super nice. Like we had heated floors, we had our own private bathroom, we had air conditioning. The only thing we did not have was any access to a kitchen at all. We just had like a shared fridge and a microwave in the laundry room. And in Korea, they're really, really strict about genders. So no boys were allowed on the girls' floors and vice versa at all. Like if you got caught with a boy, even on your floor, not even in your room, just on your floor, you would get kicked out immediately. We couldn't have outsiders in. We weren't supposed to have alcohol. Like we had room checks every Monday at 11 o'clock. So it was a little strict, but overall the dorm was really nice and I just learned to live with it. You know, I didn't spend too much time in my dorm anyway, and all my friends lived right down the hall from me, so.
Yeah, so I stayed with a host family while I was in Spain. So we were in Spain for like the majority of the time, but then we also went to Morocco for I think like 2 or 3 nights. And when we were there, we stayed in a hotel with like other people on the trip with us.
I think there's a question in the chat that one of the advisors might want to answer.
Yeah. So the student asked, what would you recommend to do to convince your family that staying abroad is a good thing? Your family is worried, and that was prior to COVID things, and then concerns about like the disability accommodations and the like. After I speak a minute, but you guys could kind of talk about how you kind of convinced your family or whether they were worried or not. We do have resources on our website that talk about student identity, and students with disabilities is one of them. It's just working with our office, working with the Office for Disabilities on campus, and finding a program that helps support you. Each program is different and offers different accommodations depending on like the country, so it can limit your options a little bit, but finding the perfect program for you, we can work to do that so that you're supported in the best way. Student panelists, can you guys speak to like how your family felt about that, or were kind of worried or anything?
Yeah, my dad was scared to death when I was studying abroad. I remember it was very emotional time, but he was very, very, very scared about me going abroad. And I said, like, basically, you just got to reassure him. Um, Studying abroad is something that personally I wanted to do. So I said, I know for sure, like, I've thought about this. I've made this decision. It's something that I want to do. And it's just something that, I mean, most of us we all are college age now. So, I mean, we can make our own decisions, and just reassuring them that no matter what, I'll call home, I'll be safe, and everything will be okay.
Yeah, my mom cried. So she dropped me off at the Chicago airport, like 4 hours before my flight because she was so nervous I was gonna miss it. And then she proceeded to cry for like 30 minutes before I would even leave. So my mom was having a really hard time with it. From the moment I told her, I knew I wanted to do it again, kind of like Ryan, for a really long time beforehand. My mom thought I was gonna get killed abroad for a while. She was thinking just the worst scenario ever. Yeah, but the same thing is, like, I kind of just had to sit down with her and explain to her that I love her to death. Me going abroad is only going to help me in the long run. I'm at that age now where I can kind of make those decisions for myself, and I'll never be able to have this opportunity again. And I promised there was I have an iPhone, so I'd like to find my friends app, so my mom could always see my location when I was abroad. So that just those like little added assurances of like giving them meetup times, like, oh, okay, I'll call you this day, or I'll text you every morning that I'm alive. She was still worried even while I was over there. It's just kind of like your parents love you and they want the best for you. And when you go abroad, it's kind of out of your control. But it's a really cool growing experience. And by the time you get back, your parents are so, so proud of you, and it's all they ever talk about. So yeah, it's good. It might take a little convincing, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, for me, since I was going to Korea, my mom was convinced that I was going to get nuked. And I had to like show her all the brochures for my school. I showed her like my host school had a video of the campus and stuff. So I showed her that and just convinced her that like the school would never send me somewhere unsafe, you know, like they're not going to put me in harm's way. And, you know, I always told her like this is something I want to do, so I just kind of had to convince her like I know what I'm doing. I'm not gonna get nuked, and I did not get nuked. So yeah, she was a disaster. She cried like Abby said. When my parents dropped me off, it was like one of the only times I ever saw my dad cry. He had his sunglasses like up on his head and he started to get teared up and he like flipped his sunglasses down. It was really cute.
Piggybacking on what she just said, if you involve them in the decision, they for sure will feel a lot better about it. So rather than them saying, or you saying, I'm going this place, I'll see you in 6 months, or short term, even a month, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, show them where you're studying, show them what you'll see, what your classes are, what people who even look like they're from are, what their food is like, what the culture is like. It'll make them feel a lot better about knowing and being part of the decision.
Yeah, and always with like the short-term study abroad. So basically I was with like the 2 professors from Platteville, and I think it was like 12, 13 other girls from Platteville. It was all girls. And so I feel like personally my parents felt a lot better because it was only 2 weeks. It was like a little taste, and I would be with someone from UW Platteville like the whole time I was there.
Yeah, and so at the end of my year, my mom and my brother came to visit me, and she was kind of like, oh my God, if I had known everything you were doing, I would have been such a basket case. But like seeing you, you know, be confident and like doing it, I totally trust you, because like I showed her the subway system and she's like, if I had known this is what you were living in, I would have freaked out. But like now that I see it in person, it's not that scary.
Thank you. There's another question in the chat that said they wanted to ask about what the prices are like for study abroad. I can kind of field some of that, but you guys could kind of talk about how you prepared financially or what you kind of did that way. The costs vary by program and by program type. There's semester long, there's year-long, there's short-term faculty-led, and then there's also short-term like summer or winter options that aren't short-term faculty-led. So it really can vary by program. So I would recommend looking at our programs on our website. We typically have like dates and costs in there. We are working on updating the spring costs and dates right now. And so, but you can kind of look at past terms because they typically don't change too drastically. But you can kind of look at that. And then me and Nina, do you guys want to speak to short-term faculty-led and exchange a little bit?
Yeah, generally for short-term faculty-led, most programs that are led by faculty are generally about 4,000 or less, unless it's a unique program. So a unique program would be the Galapagos Islands. We went for that last year, and that was roughly about $4,700, so $4,700, because it's a unique place. The cost of staying there is really high. So that's for short-term. We try to keep our short-term faculty programs to about, under $4,000, and then with faculty having their department kind of help out, probably can lessen some of that load as well.
Okay, for the exchange programs, just to kind of give you an idea, what's the difference between exchange versus Katie's, like what we call our education abroad and affiliate third-party partner programs. Her programs, there is an on-site coordinator. It's a package deal. There's usually excursions involved. And there's like a set price that could or could not include housing as well. For exchanges, you're actually, it's not like that. It's more individualized. So you're going to that university as an individual international student. So when you get there, there's going to be a cohort of students, but not necessarily from the US. So you'll be mixed in with other international students, kind of like our international exchange students that are coming here. With that being said, you're actually going to pay UW-Platteville tuition and fees. So UW-Platteville, if you have to be enrolled for 12 to 18 credits, so you'll pay that load of credits, and then your SEG fees, all of that will be paid directly to Platteville in pass, just like it happens if you're here on campus. When it comes to housing, it depends on the program. Depending on what options they have available, you'll be actually working with that program, the international office at that institution, and working with them to set up your housing. So it would be like when you came here to Platteville, you got a notice from Res Life saying sign up for the res halls, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's kind of like that, but from the other institution. So really it's like cost effective because you're paying for our tuition and fees. However, there's no like real on-site coordinator specifically for your program. You have an international office. So someone like me in that international office that you can work with. And then basically your housing, your meals, your spending money. So, and that's all based on the difference in the actual program itself. Does that make sense? Any questions on that?
Cost-wise for my program, it was one of the education abroad ones. It was the one to Fiji. I think that's one of our cheaper education abroad programs, which is ironic because it's Fiji. It's supposed to be expensive, right? Like it's paradise. But it came out to be, I think it was 1,000 more total than Platteville, and that included housing, that included tuition. It was everything through Nina's, but you also have that on-site coordinator, just that backup there for you. And he was, when I was there, he was like basically my dad while I was there. We went on multiple excursions. We spent a couple nights over on a boat just in the middle of the ocean, just floating around on like a sailboat, and we slept overnight on there. We went to a rainforest. We went cliff jumping. We had one to go skydiving that I should have done, but I didn't. And he really just sets up a lot of opportunities for you, and it's good to have it there. And I liked Fiji because having that there was barely more than a semester at Platteville. Plus, once I was there, I had all those travel opportunities. So I went to Australia for $500 rather than $1,200 or $1,300, and I went to Singapore for $500 again for the ticket rather than how much money if you're flying there from the US.
I do want to note, though it is fun to do some of those exciting things, you want to make sure you are also still being safe, because you do have health insurance that is part of your program and things like that, but your health insurance won't cover if you are doing more risky things like that and you get hurt. So you just want to be aware of that as well.
With my program, it kind of was similar to Ryan's, where it was right around the tuition price of Platteville by the end of it, just for like the semester I went abroad. It pretty much equaled the semester here. For me to kind of like prepare, because I thought at first it was gonna be a lot more. There's a whole bunch of different scholarships that you're able to fill out that can help you with that. Different grant opportunities. My FAFSA actually helped me cover some of it as well, which is super nice. They're all about Americans going abroad because not a lot do. And I knew once I got over there that I did want to do a decent amount of traveling. And within the university too, we did do a lot of excursions, kind of like to Portugal. We had the option to go to Morocco. And then they took us probably like once a week to just all these places around Spain, which was super cool. And then once we had even gotten over there, the group of friends that I created, it is crazy cheap to fly throughout Europe. My friends and I spent 4 days in Ireland for Thanksgiving, and the plane ticket cost us there and back about $50 US. We went to Switzerland for a weekend. It was again like $50 to fly there and back. And then if you guys do hostels, Airbnbs, it's super affordable as long as you do your research and you're safe and you inform. I always informed my university of where I was going so that they were able to kind of understand what we were doing, keeping track of us, and being safe. Always let my parents know too. So for me, I guess the price equaled about the same as Platteville. However, before I did work 2 to 3 jobs over the summer, just because I did want to do that extra traveling while I was there. So I kind of just cut down my costs and saved up, and I had a lot of fun, traveled to 6 countries. So it was amazing.
Yeah, so I went through like one of the third-party like affiliate programs. So I had to pay, well, I went when I was still going to Whitewater. So I had to pay the application fee for Whitewater, the application fee for the affiliate, and then the application fee for the school itself abroad. And then I had to pay for the international insurance through Whitewater and the international insurance through the affiliate program. So I had to pay for the same exact insurance twice. So that got kind of pricey, but like once it was all said and done, it wasn't that much more than Whitewater's tuition. And then something I did when I was in Korea, so my visa didn't allow me to work, but there's a lot of opportunities, at least in Korea. I'm not sure about the other countries, where like grad students or companies there are looking for Americans to be part in like linguistic studies. So I would like go and just listen to this like recording and type down what I heard, or like watch a video, or like make facial expressions to a camera, and they would pay me to do that. And that's legal because it's like volunteering, but you're like getting money for it. So I did that quite a bit. So if you can find like Facebook groups for part-time jobs in that country, you might be able to find, something like that to do.
Yeah, so for the short-term faculty led, actually our professors got us, I think it was like a grant. So it actually took, I think like $600 off each student's thing. And what we did, we basically did like a comparison to Driftless Wisconsin, like, and Spain together. And so we did a little, like we split into groups and each did posters on it after getting back and just comparing what we learned from Wisconsin versus Spain. And like that was worth $600. So that was really nice.
Okay, I just want to add one thing, is that, like Emily said, what she was doing was allowable by the visa, but you need to really be careful that if your visa says no work, even that's no work. So you have to really be careful with that, because if you get caught, you can get sent home. So just be aware that of that when you're abroad, basically.
Awesome. And then there's a question in the chat asking if they think you should wait a year. For their case, they're a freshman, and they're wondering if waiting at least to your sophomore year to study abroad would be better. And I would say it really depends on the program. A lot of students go at different times. Some go their sophomore year. A lot of students go sophomore, junior, or even their senior year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think short-term faculty-led allows you as freshmen for sure. You have to be a student enrolled in a university to go on some of the other programs. So a lot of times that works out better for at least sophomore year. But I like to say it's really like as early as you can start to plan ahead for it, the better, because depending, like if you're an engineering student, there may be certain programs that are better, but they may not be in the location you want. So if you want to go to a specific location, saving some of your gen eds might be better, or picking up a minor possibly if that works for you. But when did the student panelists, what year did you go abroad, and do you think that was like a good time, or do you think there would have been a better time?
I play club soccer here on campus, and our season is always in the fall. So I decided that that's why I want to go in the spring. So I looked at all of our spring options, and I knew most people went either their sophomore or junior year, and I was gonna go my junior year, and then I thought, you know what, let's just get it out of the way, which I'm very, very glad I did, because if I would have decided to go my junior year, that's when COVID would have hit and I would have been sent back home. So I went my sophomore year, got it out of the way, and it was amazing. I was the youngest person in my program, so if you want to wait until your junior, senior year, a lot of international students, like from other countries around the world, will wait until they're a lot older. Like we had a 25-year-old and a 26-year-old in our program. So even if you do wait till you're senior, you'll meet people your age while you are abroad.
I did the same. I went the first semester of my sophomore year, and at the time, I wish I would have waited a little bit longer, just because I felt like I had a little bit of growing up to do. But going abroad, I guess, really did help me. And if I waited like Ryan did, COVID wouldn't have hit for me. Never mind. But if I would have waited till my senior year, I wouldn't have been able to do it now. So I guess, yeah, for me, it's sophomore, junior year is probably your best, but you can wait till your senior year. Just make sure you have that planned in there, so you're able to do it. There's no time like the present, though.
Yeah, I went my whole sophomore year. My roommate was a freshman, I believe. So I think it just really depends on you, and like you might want to look at the country you're going to and see if they have any like restrictions for anything on age. Like in America, you have to be like 21 to get a hotel room or something. So maybe just check into that and see if like your age would hold you back from anything.
Yeah, I went last year over winter round, and it was my freshman year, so it worked out fine. I mean, it was only 2 weeks over winter round, and it worked out because then Corona happened like 2 months later, so it was like perfect timing.
I would strongly recommend talking to your advisor right away, because then you can start, even if you're here as a freshman, you can start planning the rest of your career path here, or your academic path here at Platteville, around studying abroad. So if you're interested in a location, as it's been said before, but that location might not have a lot of major related courses, you could take your gen ed. So that just opens up more opportunities and doors for you. So just make sure you let your advisor know right away that you want to somehow plan in some type of education abroad program.
Yeah. So then there's a question in the chat that's, I think, more for the advisors. When will you know for sure if there will be a study abroad in spring of 2021? That is a loaded question, I would say, since it's such a fluid situation. We just don't know exactly when the decision will be made. It's made by the higher ups here at UW-Platteville. And as it gets closer, even if the university allows it, there are restrictions in travel to different countries and different regulations. So it'll have to be like program by program at that point. So we're hoping for a decision either this month or November, but we aren't 100% sure. Okay. Does anyone else have a last minute question? We have about 5 minutes left. Otherwise, I can ask like kind of an ending question to the panelists. So panelists, what was like your favorite part from your study abroad? And was there anything that after coming home that you felt that you would have liked to change about your study abroad or that you do differently?
The favorite part for me was, I said, the relationships I met, but also the traveling that I did. I was able to go, like I said, go to Australia and Singapore. I made memories that I'll remember for forever. One thing that I wish I would have done, I said the skydiving. That might not be for everybody. I'm not saying everybody should skydive while they're studying abroad. However, if you have that thought in the back of your head and hey, that maybe this is something that I would enjoy to do, think about it. Don't just push it in the back of your head and say, "Oh, I'll get to it later." Just keep it in the forefront and make that decision while you're there.
Yeah, my favorite memories was definitely all just the traveling I did and the people that I met while I was over there. It was incredible, especially going to Switzerland, one of my favorite places on earth. We were able to travel for a day over into Chamonix, France, which was right across the border. And we were able to go skiing, which was super cool and a very different thing, but also make sure you're being safe while you do it. But it was one of the most amazing things I ever did. It was up in the Swiss Alps. It was crazy. I scooted down on my butt for like half of it, but the views of just the town, like sitting in the mountains, was truly like out of a fairy tale book. It was right around Christmas too, so it was just amazing. The one thing I wish I would have done differently was I wish I would have stayed off my phone as much. I definitely would get sucked into stuff back at home. Oh, like what are my friends doing? Oh, this boy I like was doing this, like getting wrapped up in it was true. I was so concerned about so many silly little things, and I wish I would have just truly been like, you know what, I'm here, I'm having a great time. I wish I would have just let myself fully just like turn off my Snapchat, Instagram, whatever, and just been in the moment, which I did for most of it. But for me, I would have just tried to limit that just a little bit more.
For me, my favorite part is probably, like they said, just the friends I met, and then also like Seoul is literally the exact opposite of Platteville. Like everything is so different, so I really enjoyed just seeing just a completely different way of life. You know, the fast pace, the food is different, the fashion is different, expectations are different. Something I wish I would have done differently is I wish I would have traveled a bit more. I did go to like different cities around Korea with my friends, but I really wish that I would have gone to Jeju Island, which is this like really small volcanic island off of the coast of Korea. And then I really wish I would have gone to Japan because it was right there and I didn't go. And I'm like so mad at myself that I never did.
Yeah, probably just all the experiences I've had there and like everything I learned. The thing I personally wish I would have done more is spoke in Spanish more. Like I was in Spain, I should have spoken Spanish more. That's my one regret.
I'm muted. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you students for coming and listening. Thank you panelists for telling us about your experiences and answering all these questions. If you guys have more questions, please feel free to put them in Canvas. I'll be checking that to try to answer those. Also, feel free to reach out to our office. We are so excited to help you and learn about your study abroad dreams and help you get there. So thank you so much.